POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And again, man, the San Francisco Giants are officially the comeback kids after yet another come-from-behind victory, this time against the New York Mets at Citi Field. Patty Barrels, man, the hero yet again for the Giants, as he smashed an 8th inning grand slam to give the Giants a one-run lead. Shout out that Mike Yastrzemski insurance run in the 9th inning as well, that upper deck bomb. And however, the drama didn't end there, as Camilo Doval made the 9th inning an absolute adventure with some help from Marco Luciano before eventually pulling out the save and an 8-7 Giants win in New York City. And what a play, the defensive play of the season by Matt Chapman at third base to save this game for the Giants. Wow, so much to get into. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate it. And make sure to check out the Locked On Giants daily show for more in-depth coverage. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Man, I don't even know what to say about this Giants team anymore, man. They've made a believer out of me. I am ready to be heard again. This Giants team looks like a team that is ready to make a run. All the vibes are vibing. All the particles are particling. I mean, like, this team just looks, I don't know what it is, man. The chemistry is there. Like the things that you can't measure, chemistry and momentum. Those are the two things that the Giants are full of right now, which is wild to me to think of where this team was just a few weeks ago after that Jung-Hoo Lee injury, and how just downtrodden this franchise seemed at that time. Seemed like they were spiraling, circling the drain. Seemed like the season was on the line in the last, basically since that Rockies series. Seems like they have completely turned the season around. They are on an absolute tear right now, where they've won 7 of their last 8 games. The Giants are firing on all cylinders right now. And after a couple come from behind victories in Pittsburgh, they go out and do it again in New York City against the Mets. It seemed like this one was going to get away from them early on. And this is what we keep saying. Bottom of the first, the Mets take an early 1-0 lead after Francisco Lindor hits a leadoff double and Pete Alonso drives him in. That happened very quickly before there was even a single out in this game. In the top of the second, though, Jorge Soler goes deep. His 6th bomb of the season, 103.2 off the bat, 411 feet. Giants tie it up at 1 apiece. Soler is getting rolling. We got to talk about him a little bit more in the podcast as well. This is a huge sign for the Giants. We already see Matt Chapman giving them some production, taking some steps forward that we haven't seen from him this season. And now Jorge Soler looks like he is following suit. We'll get into what he's been doing since he came back from the injured list a little bit later in the show. But rolling on with highlights from this game, Luciano triples in the top of the 3rd inning as the leadoff batter in the inning. Luis Matos, a productive ground out, scores him, and the Giants take a 2-1 lead. In the top of the 4th, Matt Chapman just barely misses a home run, 103 miles an hour off the bat. Would have been his 4th consecutive game with a bomb. Instead, it's a 386-foot flyout. And in the bottom of the 4th, the Mets go on a 2-run rally. It's fueled by Mike Yastrzemski kicking a ball in right field and a leadoff walk. Those free 90s always come back to hurt you. In this case, it helps propel the Mets to a 2-run inning, and they take the lead back 3-2 in the bottom of the 4th there. Then in the next half on the bottom half or top half of the 5th inning, the next frame, the Mets strike out the side. And at that point, man, I felt that this Giants team wasn't really going to have it in them. I thought that they had maybe run out of gas after all the emotional wins in Pittsburgh. But then JD Martinez in the 5th inning gives me even more reason to believe that the Giants were going to be dead in the water in this one, as he and Mark Vientos smacked back-to-back 2-out jacks and gave the Mets 5-2 lead in this one. it seemed like it was all done there. Pete Alonso even tacked on a home run to give the Mets a 6-2 lead in the bottom of the seventh. Mets hit 3 home runs in this game. And by the way, that was Pete Alonso's 12th of the season. We were keeping track of those because we're hoping that maybe next season Pete Alonso can be wearing the orange and black. And how good would that be, man, if the Giants finally got a real power hitter. The Mets 3 home runs, however, all solo shots in this game. They even had 1 runner on base ahead of any of these guys in this one. It would have been much different for the Giants today. In the top of the 8th inning, this is where things get fun for the Giants. Yaz gets himself going, man. Credit Mike Yastrzemski for his at-bat in the top of the 8th inning. Just got a little squibber down the third base line. He was in desperate need of a hit, and he picked one up, and all you need is one. That is how baseball works. He gets on base. Marco Luciano singles on a fly ball back kind of into no man's land. Could have been ruled an error too, I think. And then Lamont Wade Jr. comes up, and this could have been a big deal, man. Marco Luciano with a couple big blunders in this one. We can't not talk about it. After the Marco Luciano single, Lamont Wade Jr. grounds into a fielder's choice. It's to the right side of the infield. However, the ball was behind Luciano. I don't think he thought the throw was coming into second base. However, after running well into second base, he slows up as he gets there, doesn't slide, and is thrown out. If he slides, he is safe. And the Giants have bases loaded with 1 out. Instead, they get the fielder's choice, and it looked like that was going to be a big moment in this game, maybe a drive killer, a rally killer for these Giants. Instead, Thairo Estrada rips one into the gap in the next at bat, drives in just 1 run, though. Could have had 2 right there. And instead, there's 2 outs. And Thairo did get that 1 run in, but it changed the complexion of what we were looking at. Matt Chapman comes back up. By the way, that Thairo RBI gave the Giants a 6-3. They were still trailing 6-3, but it shrunk that gap to just 3 runs, which was important because after the Matt Chapman walk to reload the bases, here comes Patty Barrels. And how many times this season have we seen Pat Bailey come up in a massive, massive moment for the Giants, and he does it again. This guy is so good behind the plate. This guy is so good in the batter's box. This guy is the Giants MVP so far this season. This guy, when he is in, it is a world of difference for this Giants team. The way that he commands the pitching staff, and he's for a catcher that gives you so much defensively. For a guy like that to come back on the other side and contribute offensively as well, not just contribute, but go out and win you games. This is, I mean, I'm not giving Pat Bailey all the credit here. I mean, the whole team won the game, but this is the second game that without a Pat Bailey bomb, the Giants aren't winning. You go back to the Pat Bailey bobblehead walk-off day. Without Pat Bailey, the Giants don't win that game. There are so many games this year where things that Pat Bailey does directly translates to wins. And this guy right now is the Giants MVP. The Giants have a lot of guys who are doing a lot of good things. Matt Chapman has been on a tear. Luis Matos won National League Player of the Week last week. But it's Pat Bailey who, when he is in this Giants lineup versus when he is out of this Giants lineup, they are 2 completely different teams. You saw what this team was like with Blake Sable. You saw what this team was like with Jackson Reitz. Kirk Casale is a lot better than that, but you see what Kirk Casale gives you at the dish, and it is not walk-off hits. It is not come from behind wins on the strengths of grand slams hit by Kirk Casale. That is Patty Barrels doing that, and my God, I'm so glad this guy's a Giant. One of my all-time favorites from this era. I mean, the recent era of Giants teams, like the post World Series teams. Pat Bailey is on the short list of my favorite dudes wearing the orange and black, and I love seeing him show up and show out. This game wasn't done there. However, after Pat Bailey's grand slam gave the Giants a 7-6 lead, Mikey Yaz in the top of the 9th. Remember what I said, all you need is 1 to get you going. Well, that 1 got Mikey Yaz going, and he smashed one, a upper deck dong, 104 miles per hour off the bat, 397 feet on a hanging breaking ball. You know that felt good for him, and it gave the Giants an 8-6 lead, which was so crucial, proved to be the most pivotal point in this game, maybe the second most, because without the grand slam, you don't even get there. But that bottom of the 9th, man, how crazy How insane was that bottom of the ninth? The Mets hit one to the warning track, and Yaz can't handle it just to start off the inning. Never really looked like he had a good read on the ball. He kind of jumped and flailed at it at the end. He can't make the play. It's a double. Tyro then makes a diving stop. I kind of forgot about this almost because so many things happened, but Tyro made a diving stop, going to his glove side, ranging to his left, and that could have been a run in right there. Makes the diving stop, and then just spikes one at first base and makes Lamont Wade Jr. have to make a great pick. He falls down while he's doing it. The Giants making ninth innings really hard on themselves lately, and they continued to do so later on in this one. Lindor smashed one off the top of the right field wall. We were inches away. Go back and watch that replay of how close that ball was to getting out. And if that gets out, it's a tie game because Lindor never scored, but that ball just smashed just barely a few inches from getting out, hits off the top of the wall. A run scores, 8-7, Giants still lead. And then the next, it was hit off the wall so hard that Luciano stayed at first, which was good for the Giants because it kept the double play intact. Next batter comes up and hits a ground ball. It was relatively sharply hit, but a ground ball that every single shortstop in Major League Baseball should be able to handle. A ground ball that should be an easy double play for 90% of shortstops in baseball, whether they're starting or not. And Marco Luciano booted this ball. And he didn't just boot the ball. He looked bad, man. His body was out of position. His glove was out of position. He didn't do a single thing right defensively on that play. Ball, it glances off his glove, shoots into the outfield. Lindor takes third on the error, and just with one out in the inning, the winning run is on base now. The tying runs at third. Rough. Then the runner at first steals second after the Mets bring in a pinch runner. A base hit. We end up in a situation where a base hit would win it for the Mets. The Giants decide to intentionally walk Brandon Nimmo to load the bases for JD Martinez with one out, and Doval strikes out Martinez for the second out of the inning. And that was a massive strikeout. Camilo Doval went up and just got him. I mean, to get the strikeout in that inning was in that situation was a huge moment in this. Camilo just putting it all out on the table, the cojones of a Camilo Doval in that moment to rise up to the challenge. Thank God for Camilo Doval. If that's any other pitcher on the Giants in that situation, the Giants lose this game. If this was when I think it was yesterday that the Giants had to throw Rodgers in a close game at the end because Doval has been pitching a lot lately. If it's Rodgers in that situation with the bases loaded, and I don't know if that's going to work out the same way. I really don't. So thank God Camilo Doval was available today because the Giants just want to make ninth innings as hard as possible. And Doval didn't really do himself a ton of favors. He's not really been himself either. He's not completely exempt from this, but the defense has been so atrocious for the most part until it's not, because after falling behind 3-0 in the count against Vientos, who already had a bomb in this game, a good fastball hitter with 2 outs and the bases loaded. And oh man, it was do or die. It was do or die for Camilo Doval and the Giants, and for Matt Chapman after Vientos just dribbles one down the third baseline, a very slow roller, just hugging the line, staying fair. And Matt Chapman makes the best defensive play of the season. Full sprint, charges the ball, scoops it up, and fires to first. He has one chance to make this play. Lamont Wade Jr., if the throw isn't good, if he doesn't get there in time, if the foot comes off the bag, if anything happens, the Giants lose this game. Instead, he fires one to first, and it's not the best throw. Credit Lamont Wade Jr. for that scoop at first base. I mean, would you like some fudge and sprinkles and whipped cream with that scoop, man? Because that was first class. That was one of the best plays I've seen Lamont Wade Jr. make at first base. For him to handle that ball, that was not an easy throw for him to handle. The Giants, he picks it. The Giants get the out, and they get Vientos by less than half a step. Wow. I mean, the cardiac kids, the comeback kids, whatever you want to call them, the Giants, their 11th comeback victory of the season. This one in New York against the Mets. They're just rolling right now, man. And as I said at the top of the show, it just feels so good, man. I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm ready for these Giants to hurt me. I'm believing again in this team being able to make a run. I mean, They just playing with our emotions all season long, and I'm ready to get hurt again. They're like that abusive ex that just can't stay out of your life, that just keeps roping you back in. They got me again. I'm roped back in. Let's see what happens this time. Maybe it'll be different. Yeah. Well, we know how that usually goes, but I really do believe this time the Giants could make a run with this team, the way they're rolling, the way Matt Chapman's playing. We got to talk about that, what he's been doing since that Rockies series. Jorge Soler's getting going. We got to talk about that too. We got to break down this Marco Luciano stuff a little bit more. And I think it's fair to say we're kind of getting into torture territory a little bit here, at least on this road trip. I mean, Giants baseball, are we going back to torture? Well, we got to get Kipe in on this to weigh in, the expert. I think he's the one who gets to declare whether or not we're officially in torture territory or not. But it feels like it, man. It's getting close. Wow, what a game. We got to take a quick break here. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. Tons more to break down on the other side. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Spring is here, so it's out with the old and in with the new. But don't splurge on anything without getting cash back in return when you use Ibotta. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight that you've been eyeing, or maybe a fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards right there, right in the app. Join over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including all of your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and so many more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app. Start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading advice and service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. I love that. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. The Giants with the 8-7 win over the Mets, a comeback win over the Mets at Citi Field. Another massive comeback win for this team. It's 3 in a row now that it just looks like Giants are dead in the water, and then they roar back, which is, we talked about it on the last show, how improbable did it seem for the Giants to come back from a 3+ run deficit earlier in this season. It seemed impossible for a team that could barely manage to score 3 runs in general in a game, for them to come from behind and win when they're trailing by 3, 4, 5 runs in a game. Sounded ridiculous just a couple weeks ago. Now feels like any lead isn't safe as long as the Giants offense is doing what it's doing. And we got a ton of things to talk about with Jorge Soler and Matt Chapman and what they've been doing. But first, I want to start with Marco Luciano. I really like this kid. He is going to be a cornerstone of this Giants franchise going forward. I think he will be an all-star at some point in time as a big leaguer. His bat is phenomenal. He showed it tonight. That leadoff triple. He's got good speed. He had 3 hits tonight. He was 3 for 4, scored a run. His batting average is up over 400. His OPS over 1,000. All of the offensive numbers look great. My issue with Luciano is not his offense. And I think you guys all are starting to feel this way too. This is what I've said from the jump with him. His bat's ready right now. He's a streaky hitter. Right now he's hot. When he starts to cool off, because he will, because that's how streaky hitters go. And you can't just hit 400 for your whole career. That's not going to happen. But when he starts to cool off and he's not going 3 for 4 with a triple and a run scored, and he starts going 1 for 4, 1 for 5, 0 for 4, and he's doing this in the field, it's going to be a problem. The Giants are going to lose games because of his youth and inexperience on the defensive side of the ball. And I know a lot of you are going to be mad about this, but I think Luciano needs some more time in AAA. He needs to continue to see pitches every single day. And when Nick Ahmed comes back, I'm telling you, the Gold Glove defense, that's not something you can shrug off. It's not the big sexy thing like Nick Ahmed's glove. I think right now is more important to this team than Marco Luciano's bat. Point blank. That's where I stand. Defense and pitching are still the strong suits of this team. That is still what you want to build your team on. Like, yes, these comeback wins where the Giants are scoring 7-8 runs a game are fun. They're great. That is not sustainable. You're not going to do this for another 100 games for the whole season and ride the Giants offense to the playoffs. That's not going to happen. It's flat out not going to happen. If the Giants get to the postseason, it's going to be because of their pitching and their defense. And with Nick Ahmed on this team, when he comes back from injury, he gives them a better chance to win right now than Marco Luciano does. I don't know if the Giants are for sure going to send him back down to AAA, but that is what I think will happen, because you also don't want this guy sitting on your bench not getting at bats. He's a young guy who needs reps every day, not just at bats. He needs reps in the field, clearly. How many times on this road trip have we seen him make blunders that could have cost the Giants the game? He made two blunders in this one, both in the 8th inning or later, that really could have cost the Giants. Trust me, the Giants let that run score in the 9th inning. This whole show is Marco Luciano can't play defense. That's what this whole show would have been. I'm just calling it how it is. Marco Luciano, he's great at the plate. His future is as bright as the sun. But this kid needs to learn how to play defense. I don't think he's a shortstop. I really don't. I think he's eventually going to be a third baseman. That's where I see him playing in the future. Maybe the Giants even try to move him to the outfield, although there is a kind of a log jam in the outfield now with all these young guys coming up, Matos and Ramos, and obviously, I mean, Conforto's not going to be there for the future, but I don't know if there's room for him out there. He can learn third base from one of the best third basemen in the game, as we just saw on display tonight, Matt Chapman, and he can kind of learn a little bit. If the Giants keep him up with the big league club, once Nick Ahmed comes back, I virtually never want to see Luciano in the field in the 9th inning ever again. Maybe not ever again, but not ever again this season. I mean, honestly, like this cannot happen. You cannot lose games because of inexperience and bad defense. Like, you cannot lose games like that. The way that you avoid that, Nick Ahmed and his Gold Glove at shortstop. We got to talk about some other things. We got to talk about this Giants offense. I mean, this Luciano topic we can revisit later on. I see the chat's going crazy, but I mean, guys, it's Luciano is not the glove that Nick Ahmed is. You can't devalue defense in baseball. So many people do because it's not sexy. You aren't looking at home runs. You aren't looking at, what's sexier? Nick Ahmed just sure-handed glove at short, making every single play and going, 1 for 4 at the dish or 0 for 4 with a walk and nothing else. Or Luciano and his couple of errors and 3 for 4 at the plate with a triple and a run scored. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get what happens when you look at the stats, but baseball isn't just stats. It's what you got to see with your eyes too that really matters. And what my eyes are telling me, Marco Luciano is not a big league shortstop at all. at all. Not just right now, but that dude's not a big league shortstop. He could find a position that works for him in the future. It's not short. And I don't want to see him playing there in close games at all, ever again in the ninth inning. I just don't. Flat out don't. We got to take a break here. On the other side, we're going to break down some of this Matt Chapman and Jorge Soler stuff because, man, oh man, we got to keep talking about Matt Chapman, and Jorge Soler deserves some shine as well. He's been actually doing pretty well lately. I'll explain on the other side of the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Right now, with the Giants offense being so hot, just bet the over on Giants runs every single day. Like, why not? And it's not like the pitching staff has been holding people down lately. I mean, if you've just been betting the overs on this road trip, you're in the green pretty good. So I would say ride that trend, man. The Giants are hot right now. Keep it going until they're not. Again, $150 in bonus bets to use on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and the Giants, I mean, another come from behind 8-7 win over the New York Mets. They're turning into the cardiac kids, the comeback kids, whatever you want to call them. And it's in large part, yeah, the youth has been fun. We've talked a ton about the youth, but today it's the old dudes. It's the free agents that we got to talk about that the Giants brought in this offseason that we have ripped for not performing over and over and over and over again. And we've credited Matt Chapman. Just a quick peek at his numbers. Yeah, I know Chappie didn't have the best day at the dish today. He went 0 for 3, but he did score a run. He picked up a walk, a strikeout. His batting average is up to 245. Which isn't stellar, but it's much more in line with his career numbers. He's never been a big average guy, but you can see the pop is back. The RBIs, the power, all these things are back in Matt Chapman's swing. In coming into tonight, his prior 6 games, he's batting .565. This is since the start of the Rocky series. .565 with 13 hits, 3 home runs, and 8 RBIs, 11 runs scored in those 6 games since the start of the Rocky series. That's the Rocky series and the Pirate series. All 3 of those home runs came in that Pirate series, and Matt Chapman was just barely missing another home run today. Would have been his 4th consecutive game with a home run. This guy's been on a tear. We know this. We see what he's been doing defensively with the glove tonight. He essentially won them that game in the 9th inning with that defensive play. Defense is important, hence my last whole segment. We love some defense here on the Locked On Giants postcast, but Jorge Soler, man, this is a guy who has been struggling, and that's putting it lightly. I mean, this guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat for the first half of this early season so far, for most of this early season so far. He wound up on the 10-day IL. We watch him try to make his way back, and he fouls a ball. Like, he's in the batting cage pregame during batting practice, and he hits a ball straight up into the top of the cage that comes down, hits him right on the top of the head. Just like the bad luck of this guy. It was almost comical how bad Jorge Soler was at a certain point. It got dark, man. Like, this guy was struggling. I mean, lots of people calling for him to be out of the lineup, myself included. I mean, he was unplayable, and the Giants got him right. Credit Pat Burrell and the rest of that Giants hitting staff. You saw a lot of Pat Burrell on the NBC broadcast today. Soler was reinstated from the 10-day IL last Friday. Since then, he's 7 for 26. This was coming into tonight, so this doesn't have tonight's stats included. 269 batting average. It's not bad, but that's a lot better than what we've been seeing, with 5 runs, 3 doubles, and 6 RBIs in those 6 games since coming back from the IL. He adds the home run to the list tonight. You love to see that for Jorge Soler. If the Giants can get this guy rolling, they can put a big bat in the middle of this order, a guy who is capable of launching, like getting hot and launching a bunch of home runs in a really short period of time. I mean, with everybody else hitting the way they're hitting, this Giants team has been doing what they're doing without Soler even really being himself. If this guy gets to be himself and gets back to being a guy that can hit 25, 30 home runs a year, this Giants team can really take off, man. They can really start to put some runs up, really put some crooked numbers up. And it makes this thing much more sustainable, because right now you're getting it from, I mean, all the youth is clicking. Matt Chapman's hitting over 500. I mean, when all those things are good, obviously the Giants are going to be good. And I mean, certain guys we kind of expect are going to continue to do their thing, right? Like Tyro Estrada, Lamont Wade Jr., Pat Bailey. Like, we know what we're getting from those three. They're not going to carry your team. They will have moments, but they will be consistent through and through. Lamont Wade Jr. picked up another hit in this one. Tyro Estrada picked up another hit and another RBI in this one. Also scored a run. In Pat Bailey obviously picked up the biggest hit of them all with that grand salami. All three of these guys are going to contribute to Giants wins all the time. Offensively, they're going to do their thing. They're not ever going to slump too hard. They're not ever going to get super, super, super hot and carry your team to wins, though, based on their bat. At least not all the time. Pat Bailey's done it a couple times this year. He's been amazing. His batting average over 300 this season. His OPS 487. This guy's been absolutely nuts at the plate. I don't know if that's sustainable, though. So you have to have other guys that can start to prop this offense up too once these guys cool off, once the youth starts to cool off. I mean, Ramos or Luis Matos was one RBI away from breaking like a 100-year-old Giants RBI record today in the first 12 games by a guy who's like 23 or younger, one of those weird cherry pick stats. Point being, he's on a crazy hot streak to start his young career, and he's not going to sustain that. That's completely irrational to expect him to sustain a streak like that. Once these guys start to cool off, someone else needs to step up, and it looks like Jorge Soler could be a guy to step up, which is, again, so wild to say based on where this team was a week or two ago. I mean, my God, how things can change in the game of baseball in such a short time. I could keep going, man. This game was awesome. It had everything that you want if you're a Giants fan. I don't know how I waited to the very end of the show to say this, but the Giants get back to 500. If you've got that whiskey you've been saving in the cabinet, bust it out. Got that nice bottle of wine, pop it open. You got the champagne, go spray it all over the backyard or just do it in your kitchen. Giants back to 500. Let's go. Yeah, man, we got a long way to go, man. I'm not going to sit here and celebrate getting the Giants getting back to 500, but it is nice to see them start to climb back and maybe get to some winning ways once again. The gravitational pull of 500. Let's see if they can break free from that and soar past that. And dare I say, maybe get a winning record this year. Wow, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. We also got to do one last thing before we get on out of here. If you got, just sticking with tradition, if you got your Camilo Doval bobblehead with the save counter, got to move that guy to 78. Got to do it, even though it was a rough one for Doval. So we move it to 78 together. 78 career saves for Camilo Doval with the one he picked up tonight. And on that note, that's all the time that we got for you guys today. My guy Beto, dude, got to go smoke on that 500 pack. If you got it right now, celebrate this Giants win. The Giants sit at 26-26 after the 8-7 comeback win over the New York Mets. We'll do it again tomorrow. Early start tomorrow. We'll come to you live right after, as we always do on the Locked On Giants postcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.